Hello, this is Roland. Welcome. Today I want to talk about life and death. Life and death. Christ, we're told in the New Testament to lay down the old life, pick up the new life. Paul talks about about the old man or the old self, and about a new life. And there's also talk about a resurrection. Christ said, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me. Let me see if I can find the exact quote for you. Yes, he said, Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live, even though he dies. He who believes in me will live, even though he dies. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. He said to Martha, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me, even though they die, shall live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? He asked her. Isn't that beautiful? Well, so let's talk about it. Now there will be a final resurrection, but I believe there's also a resurrection that begins. There's a new life that begins. A new life that begins for we who find the path, who God finds us for salvation. There are examples in nature. For example, you have the caterpillar who lives part of its life as a caterpillar, and then it goes into a cocoon and it emerges as a beautiful butterfly. An amazing transformation, metamorphosis. Well, something like that happens to us as we live. See, we have the old self, which is all we knew, which is all we know for the first part of our life until salvation is implemented in our life. The old self, the old ego self of putting people down and building people up, and people putting you down and building you up. It's a life of praise and criticism, of love and hate, of anger, and lust. It's the old life of every high leads to a low. It's the old life of so there's that, and then it has and then we have to forage for food to stay alive, and we have a limited amount of life force which we use up as we live, and which we can glean some life force from others or they from us, depending on who gets the response, who is the one who gets the response. Okay, so there's that life of grubbing in the dirt for life. See, and it's a life of looking for experience, and always looking for the perfect experience. See, our ego always thinks that it can. Our ego is looking for glory. See, that's the dirty little secret that we all know. We all know, but nobody talks about. And that is that we want to be God. Okay? We inherit this from Adam. It's the little ego nature. See, it wants to be. We want to be respected and admired, and we don't like criticism. And in fact, we want glory, the glory of a great accomplishment, of a great athletic performance. See, the glory of being called to the front, to get up onto the stage, to thunderous applause and receive some award. So you see the terrible people that are giving each other awards. See, you see that at the top. They're always getting awards. honorary degrees and this and that. It doesn't mean that there aren't some nice people that get awards too, but I mean that's something that you see. You see, the ones that, you wonder how did they get to that position. You wonder. There they are, giving each other awards. So that's the ego life. But then, of course, this ego life is also involves being put down by others and being rejected and treated cruelly and all that kind of stuff. See, so that's what we do. We build others up. We play God by building them up or putting them on a pedestal, and then we knock them down. We put our athletes on a pedestal, our stars on a pedestal, our entertainers. See, they make a lot of money, but we put them there. We pay a lot of money so that they can entertain us and make us feel good like a god. See, feeling good and pleasure are like lowly compensatory ways of feeling like God, you see. So we're looking for the ultimate experience, the ultimate thrill, the ultimate high. See, some people seek it in drugs, and others in thrills, and others in other activities, you see. So that's the ego life. But it's a temporary life, and it's a false life, because we're not God. See? I was reading a book the other day. It was a book, the title was something about when prayers aren't answered. But it turns out that this person goes on, and it's kind of a new age human potential. You remember back in the, when was it in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s, the human potential movements like that. Well, so it sounded good all along the way, with nice quotes from all kinds of people, but then toward the end it got to the point where it says, well, we're all gods. All is one and we're all gods. See? So there it is. That's it. That is it. See, he hesitates to say it until the very end, but there he says it. Okay? Well, no, we're not gods. See? We are people. But we're created in the image and likeness of God. And He is supposed to be He is our Father. See? He's the one who created us. See? But this idea of wanting to be God will put you in conflict with God. See? If you want to be God and then you play God, which a lot of people do, a lot of mothers try to run their kids' lives, run everybody's life, and they run and ruin their kids' lives, you see. Politicians try to run people's lives, and everybody's trying to run other people's lives. See, and then so we play God. But we soon find that are trying to run other people's lives, it's not working because things get worse. So, and then some people have the mistaken notion, the false idea that their love will somehow make everybody okay. See, if they just arrive and then everybody basks in their warmth. Well, it's a hypnotic. People may bask in their warmth in a hypnotic way. See, but once again, it's a falsity. It's a false life. So, so you have that. But most people, what we discovered that when we try to run other people's lives, we do a lousy job and mess everything up. See, if we've done it enough times, then reality begins to dawn, and we can't deny reality anymore. So most people are afraid of running others' lives. They let others run their life, and the others run their life and mess it up. But one thing we never stop doing, you know what that is? In our playing God, judge other people. See, God is a king and a judge. He's a king, so he demands worship and glory. Okay? And he's a judge. He judges. So we judge other people. And we secretly judge them. We judge in our mind. We look down upon them with contempt. See? Or we resent them. Judgment with a pinch of resentment. So we go around judging everyone. And we get a little secret high out of that, see? A little high from judging others. Well, so you see, so there's this unwholesome little game of wanting worship. See, and it's disgusting, really. It's disgusting to demand respect and worship from other people and glory and demand it to be seen in a good light. See, there are some people, see, who want to be seen in a good light. See, and if others don't see them, for example, there are some mothers who actually ruin their own, will actually destroy their own children. See, and if there may be a child who doesn't see her in a good light, the other ones but knuckle under her authority, you see, and bow and scrape. But one doesn't. Well, that child is then singled out for special treatment, for special punishment, rejection, cruelty, see, and perhaps be driven insane, driven mad, or driven to drugs, see, or to crime and to jail, rebelling against her false authority. And she refuses to admit she's wrong. She'd rather see everyone dead than ever admit that she's wrong. See? So this is a naughty, a very disgusting game that people play. And it drives others crazy, drives others to rebellion, to drugs, to alcohol. See? And so that is where the old life leads to, and then it leads to death. Death, of course. So we have the animal part of us, the earthly part of us, which then becomes corrupt as we seek experiences to validate, to prove our greatness, and to experience our we want to experience our greatness and our glory. So we become corrupt, pleasure seekers. See. Well, so you have that. So that's the old man. That's the old man, as Paul said, or the old self. An animal body, limited time, destined to die, with this ego that plays God. Well, the miracle of salvation is a new self. See, to now see the old self, the old ego, who the ultimate authority for the old ego, the authorities are worldly ones who play God and puff up and rule over others with authority, and they become models for the littles, for the aspiring egos to aspire to. You see, but then you have a chain, see, of a hierarchy all the way to hell, and the ultimate prideful one. The ultimate prideful one is the devil himself. See, well, then on the other hand, you have when if a person sees something wrong with that way of life, doesn't feel comfortable with it, see, and after having grown to full stature and worked and started a family and had kids and had all the experiences and it's all nice, but yearns for something else, something more. Well, then there's another hierarchy. See, then there's Christ and then God. And so now we're led in the other direction, not to become God, see, but to become children of God and to know God. So knowing God, see, begins when salvation begins. Christ said, Father, when in his famous prayer, he said, Father, I think this is eternal life. He said, this is eternal life, that they know you, the one true God, and Jesus Christ, who you sent. See, to know God, to be intimate, to an intimate knowledge of God, an intimate acquaintanceship with God and his Son. See, that's the beginning of eternal life, and then it goes on forever after that. And that's how we become perfected, by laying down the old life. Okay? Now, laying down the old life, see, this is something that we participate in. We don't make it happen. We can't will it to happen. See, the laying down the old life, the one that I had been describing, the ego life, putting people down and trying to build yourself up by putting others down, and the life of wanting praise and wanting highs and resenting other people and judging them and all that stuff. We begin to lay that down. When salvation dawns, then a new self begins to grow within, and a new way of life. See, a new life based on love and on patience and on forbearance and on wisdom and on growing in grace and knowledge and knowing and acquainted with God and wanting to obey Him, wanting His will to be done. Then we begin to put down those things that sustain the old self. Resentment. See, you have to put that and let it go. Willfulness. See, and those activities by which we have become corrupt, where we sought a high or glory or greatness through judging others and resenting others and hating others, or through pleasure. See, various pleasures. See. And so the ego always tries to extract something extra out of everything. The ego can't just eat. See, it has to eat to feel glorious. Or, see, it can't just appropriate. It has to try to get some special pleasure out of it. It can't be a friend because it's always using other people to build itself up somehow, to look good, see, to put on an act for others. So the ego is a user, see, and it's a falsity, false goodness, false glory, false everything. So we begin to lay down these old things, especially resentment, willfulness, and we become we begin to become distant. We go through life. We still work, and we're still a mom and a dad, and we still have recreation, and we do things. But now we don't try to get something out of it for our ego. And we have a little bit more of a distance now to things. See, you see things happening and you don't form judgments. Well, this is good and this is not good, or she's good or he's not good. See, you don't form judgments, you just watch. You just stand back and observe. And sometimes you discern error or discern wrong, but you don't puff up over it, become excited over it, get a little ego high over it. You see what I mean? If someone is good, you see that they're good, but you don't feel great and glorious for having seen that they're good. If someone is bad, well, you see that they're bad, or at least they're doing something that's not good, but you don't hate them for it. You don't resent them. You don't puff up in contempt for them. It's judgment, see? You simply discern the error, see what I mean? So that's the way the new life is, and it leads to becoming perfected by laying down the old and picking up the new. And that's what Christ said when he said, deny yourself and pick up your cross and follow me. Deny yourself. Deny yourself the little pleasure of resenting another person. Deny yourself the little pleasure of jumping in and trying to make yourself look good. See, deny these things that you used to get a little high out of, or tried to get a high out of, for your ego. Now you begin to lay them down. And you begin to lay down your resentments and your angers, see? Your grudges. Begin to let those go. Okay? And then you pick up the new life. So it is a resurrection, isn't it? It's a rebirth. It's a rebirth. See? A beginning to a new life. A new, wonderful, beautiful life. It's not dependent on the praise of other people. It's not dependent on comparing yourself with other people. See, the ego depends on always comparing itself, and endlessly needs reinforcement because it's that it's great, or that it's good, or that it's God, or that it's capable of judging good from evil, and so on. It always needs reinforcement. So people are always looking for approval and for reassurance. See? And so that's another thing that we begin to let go of, so that the old self can begin to dissolve away. It'll feel like it's dying. The old self is dying. Okay? But the new self is growing within. Within. A new self is growing. See? And this new self then upgrades the body. See? The body is no longer misused. The practices become more healthful. But then the light, you become a light being, a light flooded, the light floods your being and has a good effect on your body. And so the flesh itself is upgraded. See? Until you become the stuff of life. And there's no more death. See, death is the last thing to be conquered. But death, see, there's a little bit of death in everything, even in sleep. In the French call the act of procreation, they call that, I can't remember if it's masculine or feminine, it's le petit mort, la petite morte. I can't remember if it's mort or not, but they call it the little death. Okay? So there's always a little death in, see? When you get excited, you use some of your energy. When you become willful and rush to do something willfully, then you use up your life force. See? So there's a little death in this ego, in everything associated with this ego life. See? Even that the ego becomes so guilty in playing God, so guilty for judging other people and trying to put them down and compare itself to them, but especially for playing God. See, it becomes so guilty and so corrupt that eventually it wants to hide from God. See, hide from reality. See, escape into sleep. See, so that is why that when salvation begins, then it's a new life. It's a rebirth. It's a renewal. It's a regeneration. It's a renaissance, a rebirth, and a resurrection, both now and later. See, you see it now happening in the life of the person who's on the path of salvation. You see it happening, and then it happens again. See, so it's something that happens at various levels, see, and over time. But it begins now. Just the salvation is instantaneous, but then it's drawn out over a long process of perfection. Likewise, the resurrection happens right away, but then it happens again and again. My name is Roland.